There is an attempt to try to destroy the internet as we know it, basically making it so that you're under a surveillance state 24/7 and you have to prove to everyone and every site that you use that you're older than 18. That's basically the situation we find ourselves in. There's a law in the UK, I'm pretty sure it got passed, the Online Safety Act or something, where they want to say they're going after porn for children, saying it should be over 18. And they use that as the thing that people can't really fight against. You can't be like, no, like 2-year-olds should be able to do that. Like everyone's going to say, yeah, that makes sense. And then they use it to do things that have nothing to do with the original intent that they brought up. Which is why you can't give anyone an inch when you're talking about stuff like this, even in general, because it's just you give them a little bit of leeway and then they slam that door open and do what they actually want to do. And we see stuff like this. The UK here, this is from Twitter or X, saying this is a seriously infringing free speech. The only problem with this that people will say, like, I think a lot of Americans think that the Constitution and the rights that we have here just go across the entire globe, which isn't the case. Like, free speech really doesn't exist anywhere outside of the US in what you think here, where the government can't control what you're saying or jail you for saying stuff or punish you for saying stuff. Now, the UK doesn't have free speech like that. And matter of fact, they go after people all the time for saying stuff on the internet. And it just seems kind of crazy because it is, but saying it infringes free speech in a country that might not have free speech laws and a constitution protecting it, like it really doesn't make sense. But agreed to, like, they should have it, but they don't. But this is what happens when you give someone a benefit of the doubt and they present to you the boogeyman argument of children and porn, and you come into Spotify, which this is something that doesn't make any sense at all, right? So Spotify doesn't have that adult content on it, yet for some reason they want to verify that you're old enough to use Spotify. So for some reason, say age checks show I'm not old enough to use Spotify, and you cannot use Spotify if you don't meet the minimum age requirements for the market you're in. If you cannot confirm you're old enough to use Spotify, your account will be deactivated and eventually deleted. So if you don't want to give Spotify your ID or a face scan, which is biometric data on you, and hand over this very, very sensitive data, and just trust them that they'll keep it safe. You know, data breaches, they don't happen. No one ever has information leak from a company that is irresponsible. That never happens. And matter of fact, this goes on here too to say if your account was deactivated due to inaccurate age estimation, you can look for the email in your inbox, allows you to reactivate within 90 days and go through an ID verification. So what does this have to do with the original point, right? What does Spotify have to do with the hub? Like literally nothing. So we've kicked out the whole intent of the bill in the first place. It's not doing what it said it was gonna do. But they get it. It's like a Trojan horse. And the internet, you shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't be showing your papers to use an app, to use a website. It makes no sense, right? The internet isn't a place for to baby everyone, right? The internet isn't the parents. For kids and stuff, it's not the internet's responsibility to keep kids so that they don't see things or hear certain things. It's the parents' responsibility. They need to know what their kids are doing, what they're watching, monitor them, actually be a parent. For some reason, that's like the insane thought process here that parents could possibly do something in their child's lives, and it has to be outsourced to everybody else. It just makes no sense. But this doesn't even stop here at Spotify. Even the US and YouTube are here, right? So this is YouTube rolling out AI to use in the US to detect if users are actually 18 and ignores the stated age and stated age of the channel and applies restrictions to users it suspects are teens. So something that was in the UK is now coming to the US with YouTube deciding they're going to use AI because AI is flawless and it knows who you really are to decide whether or not you're 18. And it's going to ignore all information on the channel. So like you can put on YouTube channel your age, Most people just put an insane age, and on YouTube they're probably like 115 years old, right? But at bare minimum, if a YouTube channel itself is 18 years old, chances are the person using that channel is probably over 18 years old, but they're going to ignore that information and say, well, you watched a lot of Minecraft, you got to be a kid, and then kick you off all these, restrict everything until you show your papers. Like, what are we doing? So something that started in the UK is coming to the US, and honestly, I don't know why YouTube is doing this. It doesn't make business sense if you're not being imposed by the government to do this. Like, the US government is not telling YouTube and tech companies you have to ID everyone now. So it doesn't make business sense. This is adding friction for no reason, and feels like what's coming up? What is happening that they want to age gate, or they want to put behind paywalls and different sorts of walls so that you don't actually see it, or the most people don't see it? Like, what is going on here? Because it makes no business sense. You as a business do not want to add more friction and make your product harder to use. You want it to be easier to use. You want people to use it more, make you more money, spend more time on the site. This isn't going to do that. And we have people responding to it with like the obvious things, like this is a bad thing. AI is stupid. Yeah, it'll get it constantly wrong. There's no way to detect if users are actually under 18. You misspell too often, you're under 18. Watch childish content like Mr. Beast, you're under 18. Watch any content that's watched by a large number of children, you gotta be under 18. That is basically how the AI is going to work. Like, this isn't some magical being where it's going to be like, oh, we can tell by all these different things and now put them all together, and AI is figured out exactly who you are and exactly your age and your birthday, and they know everything about you. Like, it's just not going to happen. It's going to be exactly what they describe. It's going to be trying to see if a large group of people are watching childlike content, they're going to assume they're probably children. So it doesn't make sense. It's going to be a disaster, and like I said, like, it doesn't make any business sense. You're adding this friction, and if people decide, no, I don't want to do that, I'm not doing this. At least say in the US, where it's not required, that people can migrate to Rumble, right? At least YouTube has a competitor now. Rumble, I don't know how, they used to be a huge talking point. Haven't heard much about them now, but at least they're there. They're a competitor, and if they aren't requiring all this friction, people are going to move from YouTube to Rumble just because it's easier to use. Not because it's a better product, but if it becomes easier to use, people will do that. Especially with information that's sensitive information that you don't want to be providing all willy-nilly off the internet. Like, why not? But there is one workaround that people in the UK figured out, and that was this, using Gary's mod to get past the restrictions. So obviously the tech not quite there for these guys yet, but we can see this going on. Someone using Gary's mod to verify on Discord here with a face scan. So you put it on, you use your camera, this is the character, and you listen to it, and you can open the mouths on here, and it looks goofy, but for some reason it works. And the camera or the app looks at it and thinks, slowly open your mouth, and you just do it a couple times to imitate it being slower, and you listen to the instructions, and eventually they get through and they say, oh, perfect, you are over 18, great, and you used Gary's mod character to do that. And a goofy one looking at that. So obviously the tech isn't all there. It's not like they rolled this out and we're ready to actually do stuff. That's not how governments work. But it's still a massive thing happening, and a massively bad thing happening. We should not support this at all. There's no reason why you should be using the internet as a way to have to cater to everybody when it's up to that person. So for children, it's the parent, right? Your parent has to decide what you can watch, what you can't watch, and monitor your kid. It's your kid. You're responsible, not the internet. For an individual person, if there's content that you don't like seeing, if you hate stuff that's people tweet about or videos that are going on, you can decide not to go to that channel, that person's page, or report the thing, or block it, or like the features where you can say, I don't want to see this anymore. You can use those and try to curate your feed so you don't see those things. There's things you can do. You take control of your own life and decide, either I'm going to try and make this so that I can use the app, or I'm done using the app because everyone's brain dead on it. But yeah, the internet seems to be changing. Hopefully there's some sort of fight that happens, and this doesn't end up actually being something rolled out that people just bend over and allow to happen, because it seems like it's going to be a very, very just terrible thing. Well, my camera just died, but that was the end here. So that's gonna do it for this video. As always, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video.